Hello, and welcome to the Spotlight. On the last Spotlight, we talked about a final expense solution. With that, we concentrated on the expenses associated with your transition and lightening the burden on those you leave behind. But what happens to your property, your financial savings and checking? What happens to the children? And yes, sometimes what happens to your pets? Do you know the difference between a will and a living will? Do you know the difference between a will and a trust? In this spotlight, we're hoping to enlighten or broaden your understanding of these terms and how they impact both you and your loved ones. This spotlight is on estate planning.
That, that's
All right, here we go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's spotlight. As you know, I like to share any information that I have or that I'm able to pass on, because networking is key, on useful information and information that you normally either don't think about on a regular basis or may have some questions for. And this falls right in line with our spotlight last week on final expense solution. Today we have Mr. Michael Gibbs, who is with Maryland Estate Planning. And we wanted to share some things with you on wills, trusts, and estates. Mr. Gibbs, how are you today, sir?
wonderful, wonderful.
Good, good, good. It's kind of cold out there.
Yeah, it's
'Cause
cold outside.
we had planned on meeting in your office, but this works just as well. This works just as well. So before we get into it, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I've been in financial services business for like 44 years. I'm a graduate of the University of Baltimore School of Finance, and I work for numerous large corporations like Mutual of Omaha, the Yakima.
And some of the places that you worked for.
I went to school at Morgan State, but I got my finance degree at University of Baltimore.
Okay,
And I
all
work
right,
for
all
some of
right.
the largest insurance companies and financial services companies in the United States.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay. Um, and for transparency, you are another person I met through my son. Um, our sons work together, and that put us in line with each other. So, um, you have a presentation, but before we start that presentation, and not to insult anybody's intelligence, what exactly is estate planning?
Well, estate planning is the process whereby you make arrangements as you get older. And if you own a lot of property, things like that, you need to have a systematic way of transferring those assets to your family instead of going through the court system where it will be taxed. So estate planning consists of preparing when you're able to take care of yourself and also preparing when you aren't able to take care of yourself and have all the necessary documents on hand in case you cannot do certain things on your own and you like to have family members or close friends work on your behalf.
Okay, okay, all right. So, one more question before we go into the present. Uh, no, let's wait. So we're gonna, I'm going to allow you to share your screen for a presentation that you have. And then we're gonna come back and we're gonna break down the terms wills, living wills, and trust. And you said the presentation is inclusive of those things, but we're going to allow you to do that, and then we'll get back to our face-to-face conversation. Okay, sir, you can go ahead and share your screen and the presentation. Okay, Mr. Gibbs, Mr. Michael Gibbs of Maryland State Planning has a presentation that we hope will give you a couple answers or definitely generate interest. Mr. Gibbs, the screen is yours.
Yes, good morning. My name is Michael Gibbs, and I represent Maryland State Planning. And the goal of Maryland State Planning is to help you create peace of mind, both now and tomorrow, for you and your family. I've been in estate planning since about 13 years ago. I got involved in it because of the turmoils that we had when my parents passed away, how we had a fit trying to get what was inherited to, because we had to go through the court system. And I knew there was another way, an ability to transfer what you want for your family to have without going through the court system. I attended the Institute of Estate Planning Reservation, Reno, Nevada, and it's a requirement that we go every year. Maryland Estate Planning is providing superior services for the last 50 years, specializing in estate planning and senior planning. And all of our legal documents are prepared by a certified attorney here in Maryland and throughout the country. Myself being in financial services, I'm certified insurance and retirement specialist, and I deal with everything from 401ks, IRAs, 403bs, and TSPs, which is thrift savings plans, if you are a federal employee. We know what we're doing. We have all the right connections to help make life easier for you and your family and your business. The 4 P's of estate planning is protection, probate avoidance, privacy, and peace of mind. The goal of financial planning, again, is to help you keep more of your hard-earned money for you and your family. We help protect your family. We show you how you can control your assets legally and become a good steward of your property. And most importantly, we provide peace of mind for you and your family, which you deserve. Well, a lot of people we talk to, they say, I have a will, I already have a will, which we call last will and testament. 9 out of 10 people are going to be disabled before they die due to the following: mental illness, Alzheimer's, or maybe some type of crippling disease. So I'm going to ask a few questions for you to answer. If you got a pencil or piece of paper, you can write A, B, C, or, and see how well you did on the exam. And the first question is, do people who do estate planning need to be sick to start? A is yes, B is no, C is that I don't know. If you become incompetent due to sickness or disability, who will be in charge of your personal finances or handle the operations of your business while you're in this condition? A, your spouse or significant other. B, your children or other family members. C, your attorney. D, the state of Maryland. And E, I really don't know. We already know you have assigned a beneficiary of your account in case of death. Question 3, if you're over the age of 18, married or single, and you become incompetent due to sickness or an accident, who will be your caregiver? A, your spouse or significant other. B, other family members. C, the state of Maryland. Or D, I don't know. Question 4, how much money do you need to have to establish an estate plan? A, $500,000 or more. B, $250,000 or more. C, $100,000 or more. D, none of the above. And E, I really don't know. Question 5, if you become sick or disabled, who will be in charge of your personal finances or your business operations? A, your spouse or significant other. B, your children. C, your attorney. D, the state of Maryland. Or E, I don't know. Question 6, if you have children who live in other states beside the state where you live in, and you pass away, will they have to pay additional taxes on your real estate that you may own? A is yes, B is no, and C is I really don't know. 7, if you have a minor child or a special needs child, how can you protect them from abuse? And what we mean by abuse, financial abuse and physical abuse. A, I don't worry about it. B, my family will take care of them. C, the state of Maryland. Or D, I really don't know. Question 8, if you have a properly designed estate plan, Will it address all the above questions or more? A is yes, B is no, and C, I really don't know. The 4 P's in estate planning again is protection, probate, avoidance. What we mean by probate, not going to court. Privacy, keep your family's business private, and peace of mind that you know that your house is in order. Here's a short video from our affiliate. Let's see. Again, Maryland State Planning is our organization, and we 400 Crane Highway Southwest. The phone numbers and my cell phone is on the screen. And I thank you for this opportunity just to share some information with you about estate planning and the importance of having all your paperwork in order. Thank you.
So we're back now for the presentation. Unfortunately, some of the audio didn't come through, but I'm going to get a link from you and I'm going to post that so they can go and look at that short presentation. That is available online, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, but a lot of it was self-explanatory in the presentation, and it might be that way for me because I have gone through the process. So I want to ask you a couple of questions before we let you get out of here. So probate. Probate avoidance. That was that was one of the 4 P's that we had there. Can you give the folks that are viewing this exactly what probate is and probate avoidance?
Probate is when you have a will. Your will has to be probate to make sure it's valid. Or if you don't have a will, you have to go through probate anyway. So if you do have a will, you will go downtown. And what probate does, it makes you contact everybody who's in your family. They may be here, they may be around the country, and they let them know that certain person has passed, and you may be entitled to some type of inheritance. And through the probate process, a person will have to be bonded, and the will is made public, which means they'll put an ad in the paper to let everybody know that this particular person has passed, and it gives an opportunity for any creditors to file a claim against your estate. That may be anywhere from 18 months to 3 years. And the biggest thing, try to avoid probate, because you can't do anything as far as for the family members until that probate period is done, because the courts are in control of the distribution of assets. And the court is the one who's determined who will be in charge of the assets, because they will be representing the state of Maryland, not just the family.
Okay, so let me ask a question. And we hope that everybody's family is upfront and good Christians and all. But say it goes through probate, and say I might be the black sheep of the family, and probate already takes 1 to 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. So I could make up a completely false statement that daddy, auntie said they were going to give me $10,000 when they passed. That will lengthen that amount of probate. Is that true?
That's true, because the judge will say, well, this is true. And then, of course, family members say, no, that's not true. But as far as distribution of assets, they would not distribute any assets until that particular area of concern is handled, which means it would delay in the distribution to family members. And it could delay tremendously, because the courts would appoint an attorney to verify the information.
Okay. So to avoid this and these 4 P's, we're talking about a trust. So the trust provides probate avoidance. It goes through a lawyer, and under most cases, most trusts are done while the person is coherent and able to make these decisions on their own. And it is, like you said, it is private, correct?
That is correct. With the planning is that you make all the decisions that you want for you and your family, and then it's all inside the trust. So no one can basically contest the trust, because it takes a lot of planning and legal work to make sure the trust is the way you want it. It's like going to get a brand new suit. You want to make sure it fits perfectly for your particular family. And the trust gives you systematic order. And the books that we give the estate planning, it's like an operations manual, and your children can go through it, or whoever you determine be in charge. They have all the necessary documents to be able to talk to the banks, Social Security, and your employer on your behalf.
Okay. So let's get back to your presentation. You had a lot of A's and B's, and
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
the ones that I really don't know. So
well, the purpose of that was for you to answer. And if you have I do not understand any of them, at least one of them, you need estate planning.
Okay.
That's why we asked the question, because you'll find out that everybody needs estate planning, even while you're living. Some of the documents that you need while you're living is power of attorney to handle your assets, or be able to talk to your employer, or be able to talk to Social Security, or to file your taxes. Another form of healthcare directive, who's going to be able to talk to your doctor on your behalf.
Okay.
Healthcare directive.
Okay. So and that's where and we'll get back to that. What should someone wants to create a trust, they come to you. What are the steps that they should know in advance, or what are the steps that you will go through when you plan out the trust? Because like you said, it is involved. It's not a phone call. It is a very involved process. So what should somebody look forward to if they approach you or any other estate planner when they're creating a trust?
Well, initially, we like to sit down with the client, and we just sit and talk about what's some of the things that they're concerned. And then we talk about how we can help those concerns and give you peace of mind. Those concerns are taken care of. It's not you run in and run out. It's not no template and fill out. We ask you a lot of important questions. The dynamic of a family is very different. Some people have been married once or twice. You may have kids in your current marriage. You may have kids from your previous marriage. And all those areas have to be addressed so that the estate planning can be smooth. We ask you about your finances. We want to do a snapshot of what you currently own. You have property in Maryland. You have property in North Carolina. You have property all around. Any IRAs? Are you still employed? Because you don't have to be retired to start about estate planning. You can set those pillars in place at a very early age because anything can happen. So basically, we like to sit and talk. And then if you feel that we could be of value, then we'll set up another appointment to go through a worksheet that we take all the information that you have and let you know where you stand, and we'll move from there.
Okay. So, and you brought up a point on the age where maybe people should be looking at a trust, but it's not so much age. It comes down to what you have accumulated both in property and finances and who would get it should something happen to you, correct?
Oh, yes, sir. That's correct. But some of the other I mentioned earlier, even young people become disabled. It could come from a car accident or an accident at the job. And if you don't have certain documents in place, it's kind of hard for your family to take care of you. Under the HIPAA laws, which is the Health Insurance and Portability Act, no one can talk to a doctor on your behalf unless you have these documents in place. Or say if you travel, you went on vacation on a cruise and something happened to you, how would your family be able to get you back home if you don't have these documents in place? So it's not just old people. I deal with a lot of single parents, a lot of divorcees, and it's something that everybody needs. You're going to have to do it eventually, and if you don't have one, the state will give you one. So the question is, would you want to have the state give you one that's for their benefit, or would you want to have your own that's for your benefit and the family?
So you have to be really intentional when you create a trust. It's not a whim. It's not something that you just say, I want to look into. You really have to be intentional when you create a trust, because what you're doing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you're basically laying out a pathway for those that are left should you become disabled and or deceased.
That is correct, but basically estate planning is for you, it's for the living. That's why we call it a living trust, because there are a lot of things that can happen in your life while you're still living. And we like to have all those documents in place so that you can continue to live, and we cover all those areas of great concern. So don't think of it about just dying. You're living today, and we want to make sure that your life is just as good if you're unable to take care of yourself as you are now.
Okay, understood. I do want to just circle back around really briefly, because I know whenever you go in for any medical, they ask if you have a living will and directives. I don't know. Again, I don't want to insert and insult anybody's intelligence, but when it comes to wills, there's a difference between a will and the living will. If I'm not mistaken, the living will is more medical directives, correct?
That is correct. The living will works along with the power of attorney for healthcare. They work together, and that determines what you want done. Well, say God forbid you use an accident and you're not able to make it. Your living will has already made those decisions for your family, because what you don't want to do is put your families in a position whereby one person wants to do one thing and another person do another thing, and then there's a bunch of arguments. But you made those decisions once you have your trust set up, and that's what we call living will. What I want y'all to do if I become incapacitated, what I want y'all to do if I'm a vegetable because of my brain stop. I've already made those choices, and it takes the burden off the family members. And that's the purpose of having those documents. You don't want to be a burden to your family because you didn't make those decisions, and now they have to make decisions, and they really don't want to make those kind of decisions.
Yeah, and the reason I circle back around to it is that, and I'm speaking from experience when I was younger, they asked those questions, and I just want them to look at my hand, foot, whatever I came in for, and I blow the question off. It's like that's not what I came for. I'm not concentrating on that at this time. But it's something that everyone should pay attention to. That question is asked for a reason, so that's the reason that I circled back around to it. So the services that you and your group perform in and that are performed by whoever, these are things that people should, everybody gets life insurance. Everybody, well, I'm not gonna say everybody. A lot of people get life insurance. So, but they don't concentrate so much on the trust and the wills and the living wills and stuff. But you actually assisted in something I want to touch on briefly, which is a special needs trust. And we know, like you said, that everything is not cookie cutter. It's not a template to that um, to that interest. So, can you tell us about the special needs trust?
A special needs trust is that you have someone in your family who may be on government support, such as SSI disability or social services. If you have life insurance and you pass it on, you want to pass it on to them, but it will disqualify them because they received large sums of money. Or you may have a child who may have a drug addiction, and you don't want to leave all that money to them at one time. The problem with life insurance is that with no great program or formation of program, you say, oh, if I pass away, they get $100,000. And nowadays, that money can be gone in 6 months. And then after 6 months, then your children don't have anything to live on. With special needs trust, that money can go in the trust in care of the special needs person, and you have an overseer who will be able to give them money as they need it, so it won't disrupt their service from either Social Security or disability income. We had a situation with special needs trust that a girl was, she had lupus and sickle cell, and she couldn't get her monies directly because it would kick her out from receiving additional benefits until she spends her money. But we was able to set up a special needs trust whereby the trust will write checks to where the girl needs the need to go. And that way, the person will still have the inheritance from the parent, but also protect them from being disqualified for the other social programs they might be already be involved in.
So,
And whereby that money sits and grows, because you can say, I want the money to sit and grow and provide income for the child, maybe around Christmas, so they can have a Christmas, or maybe around vacation time, they can at least have a vacation time. They don't always have to get it all up front. You can have an overseer to make sure that they spend the money properly and their life is designed to last a lifetime for the child or heirs.
okay, all right. So, we've covered trust broadly, and even then, even what we've talked about, everybody's situation is different. So I'm going to give your information uh, so that if they have any questions, then they can get in touch with you. I again, in the sake of transparency, I had heard of trust. Both I heard of the regular trust, but I really didn't give it a lot of thought until situations presented themselves during COVID, and I wanted to make sure something happened during COVID. Again, being transparent, if something happened to me, I wanted to make sure that my loved ones were taken care of. And then I did come back to you with the special needs trust because I was guardian over a brother that was in a nursing facility. So I know that we've answered a lot of questions, but there's so many more depending on your certain environment, lifestyle, family members, financial status, and such. But I really want to thank you for coming on and at least opening up the doorway for a little bit of information, understanding, and for some needs that may have not been thought about prior to hearing such like this. Just
There's
like,
one more area. There's one more area I didn't mention.
okay,
They say, and I know a lot of people who might be watching if they didn't seen it happen. One of the biggest advantages of a trust is that you put all your assets in the trust. And God forbid if you have to go into a nursing home, and you have a lot of assets, they're gonna make you liquidate your assets to pay the nursing home. They'll take your Social Security and retirement just to take care of a small portion of the cost of a nursing home. And we recommend all our clients, even with the trust, that they put their biggest asset, the biggest asset most people have is their home, and then their 401k. And the goal is to protect your assets from creditors and from the government taking your home. And I'm sure a lot of you have already seen people go through the rigmarole because they want the family house to help pay the bills. And the trust is designed to handle that. But Social Security says, or IRS says, that they can change you from putting that property in the trust. It's called in 7 years. They go back 5 years and then 2 years forward. So if you did anything within that 7-year period and you waited on, you kept putting it off, they still have a right to claim to grab your property to help pay for a nursing home. And I'm sure you wouldn't want to give your house to the government when you want your kids and family members to have a home. And by using the trust, you have the peace of mind to know that I protect my home for my family, and at least they'll have a place to stay as long as they live.
good, good.
Yes.
And I kind of in the conversation I kind of forgot that because we've talked about funding your trust after you set it up and putting those assets and make sure they're covered there. Um, okay. I usually give. I mean, you've said a lot. You've told us a lot about yourself. But in closing, is there anything else that we maybe didn't cover or something that somebody should know when they're seeking these sort of and it's all legit. That's one thing I want to say, because people say, well, is this legal? It definitely is legal. That's why an attorney is there. But is there anything that you want to say in closing?
In closing, the purpose of a trust, again, is protect your assets. With the wave of things going on now, with people coming in at the border, if you have property in 2 different locations, say in Maryland, North Carolina, probate court, you have to do probate in North Carolina, you have to do probate in the state of Maryland. This is going to be the largest transfer of wealth in major history. Most of the people in our time, they have IRAs, 401 pensions, and they have homes. And if you don't protect your assets, your money will be used to support people who come in the area or come in the United States to help take care of them. I'm sure you wouldn't want your hard-earned money to take care of somebody that's not in your family more than someone is your family.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. Again, Michael Gibbs, we thank you for joining us for this spotlight. We thank you again. I will be providing your information should anybody be interested in contacting you and finding out just how much or how much power their money can do for their own family.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
So that was Michael Gibbs on estate planning, trust, wills, and living wills. As everything that has a legal base or operation to it. It's more than that. That is a broad overview of what wills trusts uh, uh, are able to do for you while you're still here. In the sake of transparency, I I realized during COVID that here was something out here that could take me out in days, and that um, life insurance was not enough for my loved ones, specifically my wife. Um, my LLC or LLP is established here in Maryland. It is a partnership between my son and myself, but I've been doing most of the administration of it, and my wife has never participated in it. At the time, I had a rental building which was mine, it was in my name, um, as well as other properties that I managed. But the one that was in my name, I realized that if something happened to me with my son and wife not being in the business, um, how and what would happen to that. And knowing that wills had that legal aspect where somebody could come in, um, and just swoop in and say, Uncle Anthony said he was going to leave us something, or um, hey, he promised me something way back in 1970. A friend of mine, hey, something back in 1970. We was boys then, and he said he would leave me some money. Um, of course, I did not have those fears for my family, but what I did have is that um, I wanted my wife to be taken care of. I wanted to make sure she got everything that was hers, and not that any family members would have swooped in. The problem is just because it is not um, a trust, it was open or susceptible to probate, and she could wait 1 to 2 years for what I would be leaving her. Um, I thought back to a instance of a cousin that I never knew. I knew his mom and dad, and that was very young in my. But a house was um, that was going into probate, and they were reaching out across all the family lines. Um, and with this house, when it all came down to it, where all of the people were listed, and money had was distributed out, I think we got like 300 and something dollars a piece. Now, I would rather that have gone to someone who was really entitled to it. I don't know if he had a wife, girlfriend, um, significant other that was probably more in line with receiving this. I don't know. I really don't know what he passed of. I don't know how he passed. And for all I know, there was somebody that was a caregiver out of love, but probably was entitled to this. But because it was not in a trust and it went to probate, um, it went distributed out to the family. Just recently, I found out that in the matter of something as small as $2,800, that I have to go down, get a letter of administration, and it's sort of like the probate, and this $2,800 will have to be distributed to the surviving siblings, which there are three. Um, in the biological family, the probate goes to the biological family, but then it then will go down to um, the children of the siblings that weren't here, um, and so on and so on. Is that a problem for me? No, it's not a problem for me. I was his guardian, and though he was in the facility, I was his guardian, I guess, slash caretaker. So I wasn't looking for anything. but it just serves as an example of how that could go. That this $2,800 will be split up, and everybody will get a piece. But how much will they get out of that? Um, so though it doesn't bother me, it might bother somebody else. So again, if things are not put in the forms of trust, then these things can happen. Now, one thing that we did not discuss is the cost of trust. Trust and transparency. Trusts are not cheap. Um, the benefit comes in that you are able to uh, dictate or put in line for your property and assets and collectibles or whatever you want to give to the people you want to give them to. Of course, your wife, husband, loved one would be first in line for most, or if not all of it. But that's where trust comes in. Like I said, they are not cheap. Um, that comes with planning. I was blessed that in my younger age, I made some financial moves that when it came to time to get with the trust, I was able to do some things and it didn't impact me greatly. You might be able to make those same moves. Talking to Mr. Gibbs or someone who is into estate planning, Mr. Gibbs helped me out on a couple of occasions. Um, and he is the speaker of this particular spotlight. Do you have to use him? No. Can he give you the answers that you need or experience and knowledge? Yes. But again, you need to, my thought is you need, if you have things that you want certain people to have, the outlay of the cost of the trust is it's a peace of mind on me because now I know that what I want to go to the people that I love is going to the people I love. Um, to me, the cost of it it was negotiable. It was nothing with who I am because I want to leave these things to the people I love, and that I have peace of mind, as he said, and in his presentation, I have peace of mind that know that the people will get what I want them to have. So I've probably talked almost another 10 minutes after the presentation, um, but I want you to be aware of information. Um, we often don't have information that's public knowledge, but we've never had to deal with it um, in the sense that we think about it. People deal with it every day when things go into probate and things are left in the family are fighting. I don't want my family to fight, and I definitely don't want my family to fight over the things that the people are entitled to around me. But it is food for thought. It's information and resources for thought. Um, Whether you use Mr. Gibbs or someone with his particular expertise, uh, definitely make those plans. Just like you put in life insurance, make those plans. Shop around, find the cost, and find out what you have to do to meet those costs and the benefits that a trust, or if you just want to deal with the will, what a will can do for you. But just realize that a will is susceptible to probate. So this is Anthony Spencer for The Voice. I thank you again for being here. Enjoy your weekend because I'm hoping this comes out on Friday, and see you on Sunday. Take care.